Okay, so after a long break, we start again. Dr. Shem. Um, this class is for רפואה שלמה of ויקטור בן אסתר, the brother of our friend יאיר, שנשלח לו רפואה שלמה מן השמיים. So, with פרשת חיי שרה, start with the death of Sarah, and then we have the second verse in the parasha says, ותמות שרה בקריית ארבע היא חברון בארץ כנען, ויבוא אברהם לספוד לשרה ולבכותה. Sarah died in Kiryat Arba, now Hebron, or also called Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham proceeded to mourn for Sarah and to bewail her. What is bewail? To say esped. To cry for her. Yeah. To eulogize. Eulogize, yeah. It says mourn, but it says eulogize and cry for her. Okay. Now, as usual, I ask you, what question do you see in this verse? Many questions. Let's say not some of them. What is something
What
that
difference does it make where she died?
Yeah, why does it mention the place where she died? Okay, what else?
Where was Abraham?
Where is Avraham? Vayavo Avraham. That's the question that I'm going to speak
Like,
about.
why are they separate?
Yeah. So it looks like she died in Hebron, and then he came from other place. Where were he?
From Beersheba.
Yeah, that you already say what Rashi said, but Torah doesn't say where he was. The Torah doesn't say where he was. The last story that we saw was the Akedat Yitzchak. Akedat Yitzchak was in Jerusalem, in Har HaMoriah.
Yeah, it says he went back to
where? וישב אברהם לבאר שבע. Yeah, you're right. It says in the end that Avraham returned to Beer Sheva. So if Avraham is in Beer Sheva, yeah, hi. So if Avraham, it says, yeah, you're right. After the Akedah, the last thing that we know that Avraham is in Beer Sheva. So we assume that he's still there. And then it says that he came from Beer Sheva to Hebron. Why weren't they together? What Sarah did in Hebron and what Abraham did in Beer Sheva, why weren't they in the same place? They are married, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is another question. What other question do you see in this verse?
Like, are these two separate stages of mourning? Lispod, Vilivkot.
What's the difference between lispod and lifkot? Okay, what else? I will say another question. I'm not going to answer all these questions as usual. We are just pointing out questions, right? Another question that it says that Hebron was in Eretz Canaan. Don't we know already that Hebron is in Eretz Canaan? Everybody knows that Hebron is in Canaan. It's in the middle of Canaan, actually. So why? Huh?
Not everything.
What?
I don't know that.
You don't know that Hebron is in Israel? Well, but we read about Hebron several times, and we know that it's in Eretz Israel. Maybe it's to exclude the option that it's in Palestine. Maybe to teach that it's not in Palestine, in Eretz Israel. Okay, maybe. Anyway,
why are the two different names?
Why Hebron has two names?
Yeah.
In other places, it's mentioned that it was called the name of the four giants.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, why to mention it here? Okay, so there are several questions as usual. We will focus on the questions that we mentioned. So actually, it's the second question about this word. Vayavo Avraham. This is the word that we are going to learn. And Avraham came. Here it translated as, and Avraham proceeded. Vayavo, and he came. First of all, why should the Torah say, even let's say that he was in another city, why should it say Vayavo? It could say, Avraham safad Sarah uvachala. Avraham mourned for Sarah. Why does it say Vayavo? This verb, these actions that he did, again, doesn't teach us anything. And then if you say that you want to say that he wasn't with her and came from other place, why was he in other place? What is the meaning of that? So Rashi, like Greg mentioned before, Vayavo Avraham, he came from Beersheba. Okay, so that's what he want to say, that he came from Beersheba to Hebron. Okay, so again, the question is why should we know that, and what is the meaning of that, and why is there a separate place? Now the Midrash has other explanation. Vayavo Avraham lispod lesara. The Midrash says, Meichan ba, where did he come from? רבי לוי אמר מקבורתו של תרח לשרה הבא. So he went from one funeral to another funeral. His father, Terach, died, and he came from the funeral of his father, that apparently was in Aram Naharaim, or in Ur Kasdim, yeah, in the northeast.
Iraq.
Yeah, in the zone of Iran, Iraq, Iran, yeah, I don't know exactly where. Mesopotamia?
Kurdistan.
Mesopotamia, yeah. So he went to bury his father and returned to bury his wife. Wow. Yeah, so where did that explanation come from? It doesn't say, yeah, we did read that, no, we didn't. No, we didn't read about that. No, in the end of the parasha, I was wrong. So where did the explanation come from? Who said to Rabbi Levi that Avraham went to the funeral of his father? What does it mean? So, not only that, אמר לו רבי יוסי, והלא קבורתו של תרח קדמה לקבורתה של שרה 2 שנים. Rabbi Yossi calculated, because the Torah does say how many years Terach lived. And he did the calculations, and according to the calculation, he arrived to the conclusion that the funeral of Terach passed away 2 years before Sarah.
So he was there for 2 years?
So it doesn't make any sense. So what do you mean that he came from that funeral to another funeral? It's far away, let's say 2 months walking, but not 2 years. Yeah. So is there a 2 years difference? What does it mean that he came from the funeral of Terach to the funeral of Sarah? So Rabbi Yossi has another explanation. He says, אלא מהיכן בא? מהר המוריה. ומתה שרה מאותו צער. So this is also already alluding to the Midrash that everybody knows. Right? He said, no, he didn't come from the funeral. He came from Har HaMoriah, meaning he came from the Akedat Yitzchak. So Avraham was in Akedat Yitzchak, returned to Beersheba, and from Beersheba, he heard that Sarah, that was in Hebron, passed away, and he came from Beersheba. So again, the question why she was in Hebron, it's another question that he didn't answer. But he came from Beersheba, and why Sarah died? So why do we say that Avraham came? To teach you that she died because of that. So according to the Midrash, the Satan came and told Sarah, you know that your husband sacrificed your son, and she, from the sorrow, from the sadness, she passed away. This is מתה שרה מאותו עצר. From this sadness she passed away. לפיכך נסמכה עקדה. That's the reason that the story of the עקדה is close, is before, just before the death of Sarah. I don't know. I by mistake I apparently I deleted it and put it again. Put it as something else. So Yashar try to explain the reasons for that. Yashar has an explanation that Avraham returned to Beersheba, and Sarah didn't know where Avraham is going when he went to the Akedah. He didn't know where he's going, so she went to look for him. Where? In Hebron. Why in Hebron? I don't know. He went to Hebron to look for him. Welcome back. And then she didn't find him, and she passed away. And then Avraham went from Beersheba to Hebron. Okay, again, so these explanations, where do you know that? I mean, why is it important to say that he looked for him and he went for her and all this story? So this is one way. Chizkuni, I think this is what Chizkuni said. Also, Ramban says something similar. Maybe it's a pshat. He says, יש מפרשים, אפילו לא בא אלא מן החוץ, יאמר ויבוא. The word he came, it doesn't mean that it came from one place to another place. In Hebrew, there are many places that in the Torah, also in Lashon Chachamim, we see that after that when you are going to do something, you say, he came and did that. He came and did that. It doesn't mean came from one place to one place, or left one place and went to another place. It's just a form to say he took the initiative to do something, right? So this is maybe the pshat. Vayavo Avraham, it's just saying that he approached to do the work of mourning for her. Dugmat, vayavo abayta la'asot melachto. See, even when someone comes from outside the house to the house, it says vayavo. This verse, vayavo abayta la'asot melachto, it's about Yosef. When the wife of Potiphar waited for him, it says vayavo abayta la'asot melachto. Meaning he was outside the house. He didn't came from He didn't come from other country. He was outside and he came to the house and she waited for him there. So vayavo, he came, only means that he approached to do the work, right? So he approached לעשות מלאכתו, to work in the house. Here, in the approach to do the thing. So this is a pshat. Ramban has another options, and I would just mention that the fact that the last stories that we read before was about Akedat Yitzchak doesn't mean that this story happened right after that. Chachamim say in the Midrash she died because of that, but it's not. There's no any obligation to think that it's happened right immediately after that. It can be that he returned to Beersheba, lived there for a few years, and then went to Hebron. In Hebron she died, and Abraham came, like we said before, he approached to do the work of mourning for his wife. It wasn't in other city, it's just a way of speaking. But now, if it will be that, it will be too easy. So we are looking for a little bit deeper explanations. And let's see what the Shem MiShmuel say. ויבוא אברהם לספוד לשרה ולבכותה. במדרש רבה, מהיכן בא, so he brings the מדרש that we saw before, where did he come from? רבי לוי אמר, מקבורתו של תרח. He came from burying his father תרח. אמר לרבי יוסי וכולי, רבי יוסי answered him, how come it was 2 years before? אלא מהיכן בא? מהר המוריה בא. Where he came from? He came from Har Moriah, meaning from Akedat Yitzchak, and she died because of that, and that was the Torah wants to teach us that she died because of Akedat Yitzchak. והרמב"ן טען, הרמב"ן has a third explanation, שכך הוא הלשון מורגל בדברי חכמים. This is a regular way of wording, of expressing the idea of going to do something. של כל המתעורר הוא מתחיל במלאכה. Everybody that is starting to do some kind of work, it uses the word לבוא. כמו בא לו לגרה במשנה תמיד, it's in a משנה, I don't know exactly the context there, that he came to do something. ואני לא באתי לידי מידה זו. I didn't come to this level. So we see that they use the word come, not again from one place to another, but just to say, I didn't arrive to this. וכן בלשון הכתוב, בא בשכרו. The word בא meaning that he was paid. בא בשכרו. He was paid. So we can see that the word, the verb to come can be as we say in Hebrew, poal ezer. I'm not sure how to say that in English. A verb that come only as helping to mean, it's not really the meaning of the word, just helping to, what? Adverb, maybe. It's something like that, yeah. Okay, so these are the explanation until here, according to the Pshat, with the 3 options that we saw. Where did he come from? Come from Terach, come from Har Moriah, come from nowhere. Just did thing, right? וכבוד קדושת אבי, אדוני, מורי ורבי, זכר צדיק לברכה, לחיי העולם הבא. Many ראשי תיבות. And my father, in short. Who was the father of Shem MiShmuel? Avnei Nezer. Rabbi Israel, I think, from Sochotshov. He wrote also the book Aglei Tal on Shabbat. He was an important rabbi. So my father, Igid, שגם דעת רבותינו ז"ל היה כן. So also our rabbi thought like Ramban, meaning they didn't think that it's important to say where was the exact place that Avraham went out for to go and bury Sarah. It wasn't the issue. אלא שהוגשה להם היכן בא, meaning, what is the meaning of where did he come from? היינו דהינה קבורת שרה היה גמילות חסד. כי במדרש רודף צדקה וחסד, זה אברהם שגמל חסד לשרה. So the Midrash says about the verse, רודף צדקה וחסד, ימצא חיים צדקה ושלום. This is a verse in Mishlei. Someone who's chasing tzedakah and chesed. Who is the one who is chasing tzedakah and chesed? Chachamim say is Avraham Avinu that did chesed with Sarah. So all the burying of Sarah, all the stories that we read in the beginning of the parasha about burying Sarah is considered chesed of Avraham Avinu. He did with her chesed. So when you are saying he came to that, meaning he wasn't in that place, he wasn't in a place of chesed, and he became ish chesed. Or he moved himself to be in chesed. And this is strange because Avraham is chesed. all the story of Abraham, the special character of Abraham is chesed. Well, we have been speaking about that already 2 weeks now. In the drashot, this is the main topic of our 2 weeks. In these 2 weeks is chesed of Abraham. So Abraham is chesed. When you said he came to chesed, to bury Sarah, meaning he wasn't in chesed. Okay, let's see in his words. It says, the Midrash says that the chesed of Abraham was burying Sarah. So, דעת תנח אם היה במידה אחרת לגמילות חסד, אבל אברהם שכל עצמו היה מידת חסד, לא יוצדק לומר בו שבא לגמול חסד. So if you were someone who is not doing chesed, and then you come to do chesed, so you can say come. But if you always with chesed, you didn't come, you're already there. You're already inside midat chesed. This is Avraham Avinu. So this is the question of Chachamim, and what was the answer according to that? If we say that is, by the way, I will ask a question. Was it a chesed by Avraham to bury Sarah? Wasn't it his obligation? Is his wife. You know that in the Ketubah and in the Takanot of Chachamim, but we think that the husband is committed in the marriage is to bury his wife. It doesn't have to do that, only if she died before him, right? Yeah, it's important to remember this detail. But it's one of the obligations of the husband towards the wife. So what does it mean that he did chesed with Sarah? This is his obligation.
But isn't the way he did it like he bought this special?
So he had to do this effort. Maybe, okay, this is one explanation, but this is the question. What does it mean the Midrash? Or Midrash speaks, the one who is chasing tzedakah v'chesed, who is pursuing tzedakah v'chesed, it's Avraham, but he doesn't say Avraham that hosted the angels, or Avraham that was building a hotel to accept every guest that passed them, right? It's not the tzedakah v'chesed. What was the tzedakah v'chesed of Avraham according to the Midrash? Burying his wife, right? So what is chesed there? It's what he has to do. But okay, let's say it's chesed. What does it mean? He came to do chesed. He also is that's the person, right? That's the main question of Shem MiShmuel, of the father of Shem MiShmuel. And then he answer, וזהו שאמרו מקבורתו של תרח, שהוא עניין כיבוד אב ואם, שהוא מידת הדין. So when he buried Terach, it wasn't an obligation. It was an obligation. It wasn't chesed. It was an obligation because a son is obligated to bury his father. So he wasn't in midat chesed, he was in midat hadin. The action, so there is a character of actions. When you are doing your obligation, it's a character of midat hadin. It's obligation. It's just actions that you have to do. While when you're doing something that you are not obligated, it's chesed, right? What? Tzedakah, it's also something that you're not obligated to do. It's interesting, tzedakah comes from the word tzedek, and tzedek is just. So you are obligated to do tzedakah, but the level of tzedakah, it depends on you. Okay, it's an interesting question. Why tzedakah and tzedek come from the same place? But of course, the word chesed means that something that you do more than your obligation. Now we are learning on Shabbat Mesilat Yesharim, and we arrive to the part of chesed. Remember that we talked about it? The first part of Mesilat Yesharim, the 13 first chapters, are midat, it's to be tzaddik, to be righteous. What does it mean, righteous? Tzaddik, tzedek, what you have to do, the obligation. While the second part of Mesilat Yesharim is chassid. What is chassid? Pious in the translation you use, it means more than you have to do, right? Piety is about more than you have to do. So chesed is something that you don't have to do. You are doing that, or maybe you are obligated to be chassid, meaning you must do more than what you must do, but you choose what. It depends on you. Everybody must try to be chassid. But how exactly and what level, that depends on one, right? Everybody's decision how to do that. Anyway, returning to our topic, the answer of the Avnei Nezer was, Avraham wasn't in Midat HaChesed. Why? According to the Midrash. Because he was in Midat HaDin. He was in the obligation that he fulfilled in buried his father, which wasn't Chesed. And he came from that to Midat HaChesed of Sarah. But here again, so here comes the question that we said before. Why was it obligation to his father, and was it obligation for his wife?
Maybe before him it wasn't an obligation.
So it's something new.
Yeah.
We say before תקנת חכמים, חכמים said that the husband must bury his wife. Before that, Avraham lived before חכמים. Maybe, interesting answer, but the problem is that the חכמים say that Avraham did all the mitzvot, including what the חכמים say. Yeah, including the ruv and other things, and netilat yadayim, חכמים say. Okay, so, but let's continue with the Avnei Nezer. So the Avnei Nezer say, he was in מידת הדין, and he came to מידת החסד. ועל כן היה, וזה שאמרו שמרו לגבורתו של תרח שהוא עניין כיבוד אב, שהוא מידת הדין, ועל כן היה עשיו מחזיק בה. They said something also in parenthesis. עשיו, we are also always consider him as a wicked person, but it was something that he was very good. What the thing that was very good? Yeah, kibud avayim, respecting his parents. That was something that he was good. Why? Because Esav is midat adin. So midat adin, you can take it to the bad side, but he also took it to something from the good side, which was kibud avayim. But he took that as an obligation. Kibud avayim, it's not a chesed. Why it's not a chesed? There are other mitzvot that are mitzvah, but it's chesed, right? To bury the dead. It's a mitzvah, but it's considered chesed. And other chesed shel emet and other things. But kibud avayim, it's considered din. Why it's considered din? Because they did so much for you. You are obligated to do for them. So, the kibud avayim, it's something that it makes sense. It's something that is human. It's natural. It's obligation. What?
What if somebody had like terrible parents? You're still obligated.
Yeah. So that always we say, this is why every mitzvah has two levels or more levels. There is a level of the natural understanding or the human understanding. Then there is unnatural or supernatural explanation, which means that it has also some kind of holiness that cannot be explained necessarily by logic. But I would say even that, they gave you life that you cannot take from them. Whatever they done, you cannot take from them that they gave you life. And we're talking about the majority also take care of you, right? Baruch Hashem. That the majority also gives you a lot, and you are obligated to return them what they did for you. Okay, so that's the reason that Esav היה מחזיק בה, כמו שכתב המהר"ל, like the Maharal explained that Esav was good מידת החסד, if כיבוד אביהם, because of מידת החסד, וכן, so this is the first explanation, וכן, the second explanation, what was the second explanation? He came from where? מהר המוריה, שרצה לעשות דין ביצחק היפוך מידת החסד. The opposite of the חסד of Avraham is עקדת יצחק. עקדת יצחק is דין. Of course, it's not chesed to sacrifice his son. I also talked about that on Shabbat. Maybe the hardest nisayon of Avraham, the hardest test of Avraham was to do the very opposite of his character, of his natural character. He belongs to the chesed, and he has to do something that belongs to the very opposite to the midat adin. The total, absolute, extreme midat adin of sacrificing his son. Okay? So, בזה שפיר יוצדק שהתעורר והתחיל לעשות במידה אחרת. So we can understand that he left מידת הדין behind, and he came to bury his wife, שהוא גמילות חסד לשרה, ודפחך. What is דפחך? Do you know? It's a ראשי תיבות. It's a first letters, ד' פ' ח' ח'. דברי פי חכם חן. It's a verse that says, the words of a wise person is grace, gives you grace. It's very usual when you cite someone else and you like his explanation, you say, v'divrei pi chacham chen. The words of the mouth of a wise person is grace. So he also praised his father, which is midat adin or midat chesed, I don't know. Okay, but this is the explanation. Avraham came from midat adin, midat chesed. Now, after saying that in the name of the Father, he had his own aspect or his own explanation, which is similar but a little bit different. ולפי דרכו, זיכרונו לברכה, according to his idea or the direction, the general approach to the explanation to this, to the solution to this problem, יש לי לומר באופן אחר. I can explain in a slightly different manner. והנה, בוודאי, מיתת שרה, הכאיב את לב אברהם מאוד. The death of Sarah caused a lot of pain to Abraham, right? Naturally. what is מ"ד תף? במדרש תנאים או מדרש תנחום, או מדרש תנחומה, שלכן סמוך לו ואברהם זקן. What is the next parasha or the next part that we read in our parasha? Immediately after the burial of Sarah, we read about Abraham sending Eliezer, the Eved, the slave of Abraham, to look for a wife. Okay, now, Chachamim related that to the Akedah. They said if the Akedah was executed, I wouldn't have a son. I must take care that my son will take a wife, so we'll have a continuation. So this is a relationship to here. But here there is another midrash that says something else. The words that the parasha starts about sending Eliezer, sending the Eved to bring, it says, "V'Avraham zaken ba bayamim." And Avraham was old. What does it mean it was old? Until now it wasn't old. He was old when Yitzchak was born. He was old for already many, many years he was old. What does it mean now he was old? So you know, many times it's happened. When you lose your couple after many, many years together, many people become old at once. And I know many cases that people, once they lost their couple, in a year, no, your mother also, very fast. It was so much for him, for the other side, that the life now, it's harder. Once you become old, right, in very short time. So that's what happened to Abraham. Until now, he wasn't old. Once he lost Sarah, immediately he became old. That's what he says, שלכן סמוך לו ואברהם זקן. That's the reason that immediately after the death of Sarah, the Torah says, ואברהם זקן, שהזקין בעבור עוגמת נפשו על שרה. He became old because of his sadness, his pain for Sarah. ומובן שנתערר ליבו לבכי והספד, שהרי נאכל חצי בשרו. נאכל חצי בשרו, it's a term that it says in the Torah about Miriam, Moshe asking for Miriam. Never mind, but the literal meaning, it's like half of your flesh was eaten, right? You lost half of yourself. So he said, of course he's going to cry for her. What the Torah says that Abraham cried for Sarah, clearly he's going to cry for her. אך במה שהכתוב מפרש לספוד לשרה ולבכותה, אף שעדיי באומרו לספוד ולבכות. So he said, he could have said, ויבוא אברהם לבכות ולספוד, right? He came to mourn and cry. What it's really said, and Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to cry for her. Why does it have the word for Sarah, for her? Right? Let's see the translation of the verse that we saw before. So Abraham proceeded for Sarah and to bewail her. So he could have said, and Abraham proceeded to mourn and bewail. He was sad, clearly he's going to mourn. So why it has to do that? תשמע מינה שכל עצמו היה בשביל שרה, ולא בשביל עצמו שמצא את עצמו חסר. So here is a חידוש. The special thing about Abraham was that he only mourned for her, not for himself. Even though he was in a great pain, and even though he lost a lot, anything that he did was only for her. Nothing about himself. Nothing about you have this need to mourn. Many times you have this need to mourn, and you want to be sad. You want to stay in the shiva. The shiva, by the way, it's a great idea. You need the time for yourself when you are in a great pain. When you lost someone that is important for you, you need this time to stay, to stop life, to concentrate in the pain. So it's something that you need for yourself, not only to respect the death. But Abraham arrived to this level that even though that he had this personal pain, he could leave everything away and was disposed לשרה, for her, mourning for her, not for himself. ובזה יובן, and this is the explanation of the questions that I said before, דברי המדרש שקרא לקבורת שרה חסד. That's how we can understand the words of the midrash that said that bearing שרה was חסד. אף שכך הוא מנהגו של עולם, but this is a custom of the whole world. ומה רבותא דאברהם? What is the big deal about Abraham bearing שרה? Everybody is doing that. אך הוא הדבר שרבותא דאברהם, the big deal about Abraham was מה שהפשיט את עצמו מענייני עצמו. What he excluded himself totally from all this business, right? ולא היה לו מחשבה אחרת, he didn't think about anything else, רק לגמור חסד לשרה. Only to make חסד with שרה. והספדה יקרא דשוכבה. He mentioned here a question that the Gemara asked, is what are we doing when we are mourning someone, when doing the shiva, also the burial, etc. Is it for him or for ourselves? Yikra de Shuchve, it's the honor of the dead, or Yikra de Chaye, or the honor of the living? The Gemara asks this question, and there's no clear answer. It looks like they can understand in both ways. And Chachamim say it's both. It's respecting the death, and also it's for ourselves. We need the two things. The question there is, if he said, the dead said, I don't want you to sit Shiva for me. Should we or shouldn't we do that? Or if someone say, you know what, I don't want to sit Shiva. So again, if it's for the death, you have to do that. It's for the death. Is it for yourself? You don't have to do that. The other way, if we say it's for the death, so if the death decide, so if it's for him, so we can listen to him. If it's for ourselves, we don't have to listen to him. So both. No, you must do that anyway. It's for you and for them. So that's what he says here. He uses this term. He says, no, ve'espeda de Avraham, in the case of Avraham, it was only for her, not nothing for himself. ובאמת, זה דבר גדול מאוד. It's really, really a very big things. Meaning by big, meaning shows the greatness of Avraham. שאף בחיסרון גדול כזה, that even with this big חיסרון, lost, yeah, שאין האישה מתה אלא לבעלה. It's also a term. It's a term that says that the wife died for her husband, and the husband died for his wife. Meaning the one who suffered more than anyone else is the couple. More than the children, more than the parents, אין אישה מתה אלא לבעלה, אין בעלה מתה אלא לאשתו. ואישה כשרה, so we say generally saying when the wife passed away, it's mainly for the husband. ואישה כשרה שעליה נאמר אשת חי לתרת בעלה, ושבאמת הזקין בשביל מיתתה, and especially a woman that it was said about her אשת חי. So also there are some of the explanations that the אשת חי that we read on Friday evening, it's a chapter in ספר משלי, yeah, the last chapter of ספר משלי, it's about שרה. So the Midrash say all the things in the song about שרה.
Can you read it? באישה כשרה?
כשרה, ואישה כשרה. כשרה, yeah, maybe. Interesting. ואישה כשרה, a woman like שרה that was said on her, on שרה was said, אשת חי לתרת בעלה. So what we say is אשת חי, that עטרת בעלה. So the אשת חי, a good woman, is the crown of her husband. Meaning, it's for him, it's something very, very important. So losing something like that, of course, it's a very big thing. ושבאמת הזקין בשבילה, like we said, it became all because of her. ומכל מקום, even all of that, לא יהיה נזכר מכל אלה מאומה. He didn't mention that at all. וכוונתו, and his intention, רק לקיים מצוות גמילות חסדים, זה רבות היתרה. So he did everything only for chesed. This is the level of Avraham chesed. The greatness of Avraham, of the chesed of Avraham. They're doing something without any kind of personal touch, personal interest. Only for the sake of his wife. Now comes the difference from the explanation of his father. וזה ששאלו מהיכן בא. So we said, where did he come from? So what the Avnei Nezer explained? Where did he come from? What midah he was before? He was in midat adin, and he came to midat chesed. Now he explained, what does it mean, where did he come from? מהיכן זכה. How did Avraham achieve this big level, this greatness? How did Avraham become such an is chesed that he didn't do anything for the personal interest of himself, only for the sake of his wife? Where did he come to this מידה? מהיכן זכה ובא לך על מידה זו? ואומר רבי לוי, מקבורתו של תרח. Now he come, the opposite of what his father said. So I hope it's כיבוד הורים, but he says the opposite of his father. היינו, על פי מאמריו ז"ל, לך אני פוטר מכיבוד אב. So there is a midrash, again, or מאמר חז"ל, that says that Abraham wasn't obligated to respect his father. He wasn't obligated in כיבוד הורים of his father. וכמו שביאר מהר"ל, שאברהם היה התחלת העולם, ואינו נחשב כלל שתרח היה אביו. אברהם starts a new world. We have to restart in ספר בראשית. The restart of the world. The Noach was the first restart, and the second restart is Abraham. So the world was going deteriorating from Adam הראשון until the destruction of the מבול. מאדם עד נוח. And then another, the Mishnah say, מחטיאים ובאים. Everybody making sin and sins and more and more and more. From Noach, 10 generation of deterioration until Avraham Avinu, and Avraham start anew from the beginning. Fresh start. So he's not considered the son of his father.
It's like a girl.
What? Like a girl. Yeah, like a girl that is become a new person.
Right.
There, חכמים say that you are obligated in כיבוד הורים. שלא יבוא, יגידו שבאו מקדושה חמורה לקדושה קלה. So he must respect, but like in a human manner, not in the Jewish manner. In a human, you have to respect your father, even though you are like a new person. But in this case, חכמים say that Hashem told Abraham, you don't have to respect your father. You are like born, you are a new creation. Like Avraham HaRishon, like the first man was created from nothing, was created from nothing. ועל כן, מן הדין לא היה צריך להיטפל בקבורתו, אלא שיהיה מצד החסד הגמור. והעקר שוחה ומשכנה ורעת מרחק רב כזה. So the fact that he went to the funeral of his father and was taking care of his father, even though he wasn't obligated for that, it's a chesed של אמת. It's a real chesed. You know that they say that a real chesed is חברה קדישה. The חברה קדישה, burying someone is a real chesed. Why? Because this person will never return to you as a favor. He's already, he will never can pay you back. So you are doing chesed without any kind of expecting for a reward for that. So Avraham, that wasn't obligated, and he wasn't expecting any kind of reward for that, not in this world, not in the next world, and he went to Ur Kasdim, far away to his father to do that. This is a big chesed. So once he did that for himself, I mean for his father, that what brought him to arrive to this level, that also when he did it for his wife, it wasn't without any kind of personal interest or personal benefit. ושכר מצווה שזכה כשבא למצוות גמילות חסד, יהיה ליבו ברשותו, להפשיט את עצמו מכל ענייניו עד שיהיה כולו למצווה. So he arrived to this level that he could take away all his personal interest, and all of him, totally, his whole was dedicated to the mitzvah. ורבי יוסי אמר, רבי יוסי also gave that explanation, אמר מהר המוריה בה, ששם הפשיט את עצמו מכל ענייני עצמו, ואף גם ממידת החסד שלו. This is even a bigger explanation. Avraham in הר המוריה, meaning עקדת יצחק, not only he did a total act of chesed, the opposite. He did the total act of taking away any kind of personal interest, in the meaning that even it was against his character. He could act against his natural character of chesed, of ish chesed, to do the will of Hashem. So that was the reason he could elevate himself in this level. He couldn't do midat chesed bishlemut, meaning in the perfect way, without doing the midat adin bishlemut. So acting against your character is even harder than do something perfectly. If it's something that is my character, and I elevate myself and improve myself until I do that in a perfect way, okay, it's something that it's a great achievement, but still it's something natural. But arriving to a perfect in something that it's against my nature, it's even a bigger thing. And being able to do Ara Moriah brought him to this level of perfection, that even when he has this personal touch and pain, etc., he could totally ignore that and do that only for the sake of the mitzvah. So I try to read and translate. רבי יוסי אמר מהר המוריה בא. He came from the הר המוריה. ששם הפשיט עצמו. להפשיט, how do you say להפשיט? He dressed off himself, dressed himself off. To become naked, the action of become naked.
Undressed.
Well, undressed. Undressed himself, undressed himself from all the personal matters, ענייני עצמו, ואף גם ממידת חסד שלו. He also undressed himself from his character of חסד, from the attribute of חסד of אברהם. עד שבא לשחוט את בנו יחידו, until he arrived to the level that he was willing to sacrifice his own son. בשביל זה זכה, for that he got the merit, שבכל עת בואו למצווה, anytime he came to make any מצווה, יהיה בכוחו לעשות, he will have the power or the capacity of doing that, באופן כזה שיהיה כולו למצווה. That he's doing that absolutely only for the מצווה. So this is the explanation. According to that, he came, the question, where did he come from? He came what merit he came from. He came from the merit of burying his father, or he came from the merit of Akedat Yitzchak. Now, and what level did he arrive? That he could do something without any kind of personal interest. Now, always when I read these kind of things about the patriarchs, I think we must ask ourselves, do we something that it's expected from us to arrive to that? What is the meaning of saying that for us? So Shem MiShmuel found an explanation that showed that Abraham was even greater than what we thought. He could illuminate, how do you say, to illuminate another aspect of the character of Abraham, that is unapproachable, unachievable, unattainable. Right. So, and what does it tell to us? I think that generally speaking, learning about the Avot, it's not necessarily means that we must be like them. But putting something like that in front of you can motivate you. That's, I think, the idea of all the Avot. And also the Mesilat Yesharim says that when we learn about Sipurei Tzadikim in the Talmud, in the Midrashim, when you learn about actions of the righteous in the Talmud, etc., in the Midrashim, it gives you an example of what a human being can achieve, and it should create a motivation in yourself to be better. So if we could do that, maybe I won't arrive to there, but I can do better than what I'm doing right now. So maybe this should motivate us to be a little bit less selfish, right? So it's not that we are doing, if you are doing mitzvah burial, right? Mitzvah burial, and you have a lot of pain for that person, it's not a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing. It's not that we should, it's okay. It's something that even can show sensibility and connection, and it's a good thing. But knowing there was a person like that even though he was in a very big personal pain, he could do all these actions only for the sake of the other person, it teaches you the importance of not being selfish. Okay, so maybe you cannot be Abraham, but you can be less selfish. So all these kind of actions and ideas about these great people, it should be like a motivation, I think, for us to try to improve each one in his level, in his place, in his life, in his opportunities, try to do something a little bit better. That's it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Welcome back. The grandkids. Good.